to drive 1,000 miles tomorrow to Florida. That really sucks pretty hard. Um, Last time I drove to Florida, some goober in a pickup truck had a pickup truck full of honeydews, and they were piled up above the rim of his truck bed. I was like, damn. So I moved over, and sure enough, a few miles down the road, he like swerved a little bit, and these honeydews came flying off at 60 miles or 70 miles an hour. Which, wow. Welcome to Florida. Florida's like a third world country. Get to the point, right? Fujifilm, the X-H1. I've already sold off one of my Nikon D3s and both of my Fuji X-T1s to purchase it, so for those of you who think I'm like loaded with money and I just like buy whatever comes out, you know, just like I'm Daddy Warbucks or something, no idea where people get that delusional idea from. Anyway, the reason why I'm going to get the XT2 is I actually shoot corporate gigs and events, not as frequently as I used to before I started doing all these videos, but I still do. So I'm actually compelled to rationalize this logically, that I'll be able to pay, this X-H1 will be able to pay for itself in shooting some video clips. Mostly I do it for websites. I actually have about that much video skills, but it's enough to pay, and I certainly never claimed to be a video person. This is a hybrid camera. It turns out Fujifilm on their own video sites and announcing it, the reason why they're calling it the H in the X-H1 is H stands for hyper. In other words, like an X series on steroids. So that's what the H stands for, according to Fujifilm. The reason I'm getting it, and by the way, I have attacked IBIS. I said no photography needs IBIS, and I still say that. But I've also specifically said that IBIS for video use is important and a wonderful idea. So I would be getting this, and I plan to use the video IBIS on the X-H1. I'm also getting it for the improved touchscreen, basically zero blackout, incredible ergos. I actually studied the images on the X-H1 quite deeply, and I can tell that I'm really going to like the grip on the camera. There's a new shutter release. There's a featherweight design. I've actually seen the mechanism on the new X-H1, and it's completely different than a regular a button switch that's typical on Nikon, Canon, and current Fujifilm cameras. And this is the same thing that happens in a trigger job, which I'm somewhat of a gunsmith, is that you never know when it's about to break. Like on a break over is what we call it. On the current shutter releases, you know when it's about to release. This featherweight release is basically like giving a trigger job to the shutter release on Fujifilm cameras. That'll be a wonderful addition. It'll actually also reduce shake. I know that the shutter mech is on cushions. It's on 4-point cushions, so it's supposed to have greatly reduced noise on the shutter mech. That's wonderful. It's basically miniature GFX with a bit of a better design on the grip. The huge back button autofocus will, something I use all the time, will be wonderful. The fact that it has a DSLR grip will mean that won't be very compelled to use the vertical grip that much or at all, even though I'll get the vertical grip. I know you can't get a headphone jack without the grip, and I know you can't do 30 minutes of video record time without the grip. So for corporate and event photography, I do want the X-H1 for stabilized video clip use. Mainly be using it for website content in addition to the photography. I've already done some of that, and I have a camera gimbal that I have used in the past with my XT2. I notice people are complaining about the fact that the screen doesn't come all the way forward, so you can't actually look at yourself to, align yourself in. There's an iPhone app for that. Hooks up to the Fujifilm, so you could look at your iPhone. So I don't know if people are complaining about that. People complaining about losing the exposure compensation dial don't really know what they're talking about. I know they love the exposure compensation dial, but it's still there. It's just been moved to front or rear command wheels. That top LCD display, or sub display as Fujifilm calls it, has a button right beside it, just like the GFX. Will let you illuminate it. And for incredibly low light video use, this is very handy, and it's actually not only programmable not only for photography but for video, with two different assignable slots, probably 4. I know it's 4 on the GFX, could be more on the X-H1, so people will actually like that once they realize what it is. I've told people since ever, people say, oh my god, the X-H1, the people that have actually tested it, and I've seen all the videos and read all the articles, they say, oh my god, the X-H1 is pretty damn big. And it had to be bigger necessitatively, not even accounting for the grip, because there is no way to create an X-H1 the same thickness as the Fujifilm X-T2. It's impossible. The IBIS mechanism alone necessitatively requires that Fujifilm design the camera at least 8+ millimeters thicker. That's a fact. So no less than 8 millimeters thicker than the X-T2. And if Fujifilm had designed a really thick X-T2 with the same grip profile as the X-T2, I mean, that just would have been a failure. That would have been a big mistake. So I think you people don't give Fujifilm and the people that have been testing this camera and the ergos enough credit for it's obviously basically as big as a DSLR. And that doesn't bother me a bit. I could actually tell from the middle finger groove and the undercut underneath the shutter release and the actual tight Nikon D500 profile grip on the X-H1 that I'm actually going to love the hell out of it. So yeah, I will be getting the X-H1. I've already have it reserved at a certain particular place, unnamed, as well as the vertical grip. I've always known when Fujifilm actually said that their cameras, their sensors, their lenses didn't have a wide enough circle. I knew that was not true. The circle of projection on most lenses is a lot more than people think it is. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you open all the way up on a really fast lens that is pushing it, you know, you're going to get vignetting. Like on some of the really pancake lenses. But no, the circle of projection on most lenses, even old lenses, and even, for example, the Nikon 17 to 55, it's a crop sensor lens. If you actually take your camera out of crop mode or DX crop mode, like a full frame, and you mount that DX lens on a full frame Nikon, and Fujifilm lenses are no different than this, you can actually, unless you open all the way up to 2.8 at the far end at 17, since the lens is 17 to 55, you won't notice anything. I mean, it will look just fine. You won't notice any vignetting. Circular projection in most lenses is a lot larger than most people think, so there was always enough room in there for IBIS stabilization. And I'm not going to use the IBIS for anything other than video. So far as downsides of cleaning it, I mean, I've cleaned thousands of sensors, countless other people's sensors, including my own, many times, and cleaning the IBIS sensor on the Fuji is not going to pose any difficulty whatsoever. I'm not concerned about that at all. I do not care that IBIS mech does electrostatically attract more dust than a conventional sensor. I mean, I've got a blower and I can sure as hell easily clean my sensor just like that, so that's not a problem. Actually, I really like the designs. You've seen the side door, the SD card side door, how thick and beefy it is? It's rather humongous. I was told that the doors and the chassis were really beefy some extensive time ago, like quite a long time ago. We didn't say anything. Can now. So now I know exactly how beefy it is, even though I don't have it in my hands. I've taken a look at all the images. So I'm rambling on. I'm getting ready for a big, nasty, disgusting trip to Florida, which is basically another country, by the way. Florida is not part of the United States. When you enter Florida, you really are in another country. The disparity in Florida, too, is quite enormous. You got really poor people and really rich people. There's not much of a healthy middle class in Florida. Some people will argue with me about that, but they'd still be wrong. So that's it. I will be getting the X-H1. People have said a lot of really crazy stuff about the exposure compensation dial. It's still there. You're just using the command dials instead. Most valuable real estate is on the top part, well, on any camera, but especially on the top part of the camera. And just have that huge ass wheel for exposure comp only was really damn stupid. Not that I'm against the exposure compensation wheel, but it was a piss waste of real estate. It's like buying $1 million piece of land in Beverly Hills and sticking up a $1 buy it now hot dog stand run by little teenagers. Not an intelligent idea. Works fine, but that area could be far, far better served by something far, far useful. Especially a hybrid camera. Especially one that is intended to appeal to videographers. Yeah, get rid of the exposure comp dial. Stick a programmable, real useful LCD there. That's illuminatable. That word, illuminatable. That you could illuminate with a button right beside it. So the people that are, they got their pink frilly panties in a twist over that one are unintelligible. It's illogical. There's no logical reason to keep that exposure comp dial, just none. I mean, the other two dials and their dual purpose dials are still there on the camera, for crying out loud. I went over all the features and advantages and the comps compared to the XT2, and I do consider this a viable option worth purchasing. I know you can call me a Fuji fanboy, but I don't carry water for any of these companies, and they don't give me anything. T-shirts and pins don't count, so I actually put my money where my mouth is. Unlike everybody else who's gonna like rent it and then use it for 4 days and make a video review and then send it back. They don't put their money where their mouth is. I will be doing that. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you like these videos. If you do, you can click the link below. If you're not, you can tell me to jump off a cliff or go kiss a dirty horse's butt or something like that. Whatever makes you happy. I'm exhausted. Packing and traveling is just a pain in the crotch, especially driving. I hate driving. Hate it. Hate it. Thank you. Goodbye. Do, 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 do.